Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera semua. Apa khabar? Hi everyone. Hari ini hari ke-20 kita berpuasa. My name is Shukri Hadafi and I will be your moderator for today. I'll be speaking in dual language to accommodate the presentations. So for your information, this is our 5th series of webinar session brought to you by the MyCURE team of Malaysia Productivity Corporations. Okay, so previously we have been talking about MyCURE, all right, many topics. We have touched on how to elaborate the issues. We have talked about why MyCURE is very crucial. And today, we're gonna brief further on the crucialness or the importance of applying the red tape during this pandemic period, yeah. But before we start, I will brief a little bit to recap back what is MyCURE, yeah. MyCURE is a simple methodology for cutting the red tape, bureaucracy, taking out the complexity and simplifying for procedures toward more efficient and effective public service delivery. So we have been implementing these MyCURE activities since 2014, and this is under the roof of good regulatory practice in reviewing the regulatory process and procedures. All right, so basically this MyCURE, yeah, is divided into 4 phases. The first one is defining the issues and problem. Number 2 is measuring the current performance. Number 3, data and root cause analysis. And the 4th one is proposed recommendation and solutions. All right, so for today's sessions, we have our guest speaker today, Tuan IR Riwayat. Apa khabar, Tuan?
Baik, Alhamdulillah, terima kasih.
Okay, yeah. How are you coping with the MCO? Still stay at home?
Still staying at home, very much at home.
Yeah. I think you really miss your golf session, yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
But I thought this golf can already start. Yeah, it's allowed.
Yeah,
it's allowed.
Start already, but the thing is that I think with the current condition, probably going anywhere is not going to be a very safe bet. So let's wait a bit more.
Yeah, true. So before we start, I would like to introduce a little bit about our speaker today. Yeah, my friend, my sifu, IR Haji Riwayat bin Mansur. He is currently the managing consultant of Andal Group. So for almost 10 years, IR Riwayat bin Mansur has been a corporate management consultant, providing services to public and private sector in Malaysia, as well as abroad. His wealth of knowledge and exposure has assisted him to garner the confidence and trust of numerous organizations locally and abroad. KIR Haji Riwayat has vast experience serving reputable multinational corporations for almost 30 years. In the last 15 years of his career, he held senior leadership positions in increasing responsibilities such as director, senior directors, vice president, and general manager. Okay, and his experience span across the globe, as he had not only held leadership position in Malaysia, but he also served as expatriate to United States and China for extended period of time. Apart from that, he also had position of senior director for global operations, managing multiple geographic, namely Malaysia, China, India, Mexico, Brazil, and Hungary for a very large multinational organizations. So on top of that, he's also an expert for Lean and Six Sigma, strategic planning management, business excellence, performance management, TQM, product lifecycle management, concurrent engineering, product industrialization, commercialization, and various management concepts and techniques. So with that, I think we are lucky today to have Tuan IR Riwayat on board. Okay, and today, IR Riwayat will share with us, the red tape during pandemic, during this COVID-19, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, so I will pass the session to IR Riwayat to elaborate further on the topic. So for the participant, if you want to upload the handout or download the handout, you can choose the handout, click the handout option, and it can be downloaded from there. And throughout the session, if you have any questions, you can post it using the question link. All right, and I will try my best to accommodate the question and convey it to the speaker. Right, Tuan Riwayat, let's start.
Okay, thank you very much, Encik Shukri. That was a very generous introduction, free advertisement, which is good. I think during this time when job is quite limited, your introduction probably and hopefully could assist me in getting more job. Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. And today, like what Encik Shukri has mentioned earlier, I'm entrusted to share with you in this webinar on a topic that's called red tape during pandemic, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You have seen probably the synopsis about the seminar today, the session today. This is probably, it could be considered as a follow-on to the first one that I had shared earlier in the previous session. Topic that was called red tape, the one stifling the productivity and also the creativity. There's some overlap there between this topic and also the previous one that I had. But for this particular one, the topic about the red tape during pandemic, I think is more timely. It's a timely topic since we are in the midst of the COVID-19 attack. Yeah. As the synopsis suggested, we will look at how red tape impacts on the daily life. It's our daily life in facing the onslaught of COVID-19, and we will also look at how red tape, whether red tape is doing any justice to us or it is a pure disservice. So we look at it, and we will also look at the impact or the effect on the social and also the economy part of it. Okay, I will move on with the slide. So I have a problem with my slide. It's not moving. Just bear with me, yeah. Is the slide moving? I have issue with the slide. It's not moving. We had this problem when we were doing the practice. It's happening again. Yeah, you can see the first slide, right? But it's not moving. Okay, I think Izzat, we have to let the secretariat control the slide. I can't control it over here. I don't know why. What happened? Okay, anyway, I'll continue. This is the red tape during pandemic, and what we will do, we will take a look at the red tape, how it affects our lives, and this is not talking about I have an issue. Can you move to the next slide, please?
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
now it's moving.
Yeah, it's not me. I think Izzat is. I think I'll let Izzat control that.
Yeah, IR, can you switch on the webcam? We can't see you now.
Oh, you want to see me? Yeah, you can see me now?
Yeah, now better. Yeah.
Okay. I thought I just want to give the
because
whole
just now was like you were talking and the participant can see me.
Oh, okay.
Not the speaker.
Now you can see me. Okay. Well, go to previous slide. Previous slide, please. Okay. So this is the content of the presentation. We will briefly. This one has been shared earlier in my previous webinar. You know, the what is red tape, what is bureaucracy, the advantages and disadvantages. Then we move on to the new thing. This is on about the pandemic and also about the history of the pandemic. Yeah. Then also we'll examine, not really examine, but we'll take a look on the effect of red tape during this pandemic, whether it's good, whether it's doing ourselves justice, or just plain outright disservice to us. So we'll take a look at this. And finally, we'll also take a look at what are the governments around the world doing about this pandemic. Next slide, please.
Okay. So you are saying the red tape can be categorized into two, right? Some of it is a good one, and some of it is the bad one, right?
That's correct. Depending on how you implement and how you manage that, so it can be you know, a negative thing. It can be a positive thing.
Because the common thought is always red tape is the bad thing that should be removed, is it?
That's correct. It carries that connotation. It's bad connotation, because when you talk about red tape, you talk about the bureaucracy that is too excessive and too complex, and that becomes a burden to the people. So that's why, you know, when that becomes bad, then people call it red tape. However, a lot of this, if you can see in the slides later on, and also in the videos, I hope I can share the videos. We had issues also earlier on the videos, but hopefully, yeah, let's cross our fingers that it's going to be okay. So in the tapes and also the slides earlier, later on, you can see that red tape and also bureaucracy are very much interchangeable. What do you call? They use very much interchangeably. Yeah, the term is interchangeable. But to be more exact, I think red tape it carries a much more negative connotation than bureaucracy. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So we move on. The advantage. So since we are talking about the COVID-19 and how the government is reacting to this, and what are the measures that the government are doing. So my presentation today, or rather the session today, will be a lot more towards public services scenario, rather than, you know, in the organization, in companies, or you know, in institutions and stuff like that. It's more of public service. Okay, so you can see here the advantage. Basically, there are a set of rules that can clearly is a very subjective word, clearly stated in most cases, and that makes the obedience a prerequisite, yeah, in the bureaucratic structure. We go on to the next slide, please. Okay, disadvantage a lot. I don't want to dwell on this, but there's a lot of disadvantages when it comes to red tape and bureaucracy. We can see afterward. You can see the good part of it. We can see the bad part of it. And the bad part is, you know, its lack of flexibility. It becomes very complex, complicated, and it takes, you know, causing delays and confusion and stuff like that. So, okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, there's a video. I have a video here actually. Can we play the video on the pandemic just to give the history?
Okay.
This is when it started, December 31st, 2019. Cases of pneumonia popped up in Wuhan, China. Authorities quickly identified a new strain of coronavirus. By January 20th, there were more than 200 cases of this in mainland China. And in less than 2 months since patient zero, that number has climbed to more than 80,000 around the world. It's an outbreak so big that people have started using the P word, pandemic.
Time is running out to prevent a global pandemic.
The window to stop coronavirus from turning into a pandemic is closing.
Does this virus have pandemic potential? Absolutely, it has. Are we there yet? From our assessment, not yet.
What constitutes as a pandemic can be complicated, but the meaning of the word is simple. It comes from the Greek word pandemo, pan meaning all, and demo meaning people.
All a pandemic means is that there's broad dissemination of an infection throughout the planet. It really just refers to the geographic spread of this infection. It doesn't actually tell you anything about the infection itself.
The novel coronavirus outbreak may sound like a pandemic, but it's so new that the World Health Organization has yet to define what a pandemic for this strain looks like.
Using the word pandemic now does not fit the facts, but it may certainly cause fear.
The WHO is ultimately what makes the call whether an outbreak is officially at pandemic levels. While some outbreaks are considered pandemics because they're worldwide, other outbreaks are labeled epidemics, which means a disease is spreading quickly throughout one or many communities, but not globally. We can look at the case of the ordinary flu to show the difference between the two labels. Epidemics of the seasonal flu are thought to kill up to 650,000 people every year around the world. But the pandemic flu is much less common, and the most severe pandemic in recent history killed at least 50 million people within about a year's time. This famous pandemic happened in 1918, and it's known as the Spanish flu, which infected 1/3 of the world's population. Today, people can spread diseases around the world in a matter of hours because it's as easy as hopping on a plane. Most of the new coronavirus cases are concentrated in mainland China, but there are many outbreaks in other parts of the world, like in Italy, where towns are quarantining themselves, afraid the disease will spread past its borders.
We have been warning against for a couple of weeks already that countries have to be prepared for the virus literally knocking at their door. Medical authorities have to be ready. Medical staff has to be trained, and there needs to be the protective measures for the population and the medical authorities at the same time.
What will happen to the new coronavirus is pure speculation. It might become a seasonal infection, or it may burn out completely and be a disease we won't see in the near future. Thanks for watching. If you want to stay up to date on the latest breaking national and international news, be sure to subscribe to our channel, where we also dig into big issues around the world in our weekly series, Global News Explains.
Yeah, IR. I think we lost the signal of IR.
Okay. Is
Okay,
that okay
yeah,
now?
you're back. Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay.
I was muted by the organizer.
Yeah.
And okay, I was trying to be on, and then I think they're trying to put me on. Okay, the video just now actually that was before pandemic was declared. What do you call the COVID-19 was declared as a pandemic, yeah. Because the COVID-19 was declared as pandemic on the 11th of March 2020. So the video was, I just meant to show the video for some explanation of it, but that was before. the COVID-19 was shared as, or rather classified as the pandemic. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, this is the slide. So if you look at this slide about the pandemic history, you can see the biggest one so far historically that happened in the 14th century. It's called Black Death. When this happened, 200 million people. What is 200 million people? 200 million people is like the whole population of Brazil. Brazil is about 211 million people, and the whole country, the whole population is wiped out. Just imagine how big was that pandemic. There are 20 listed over here, and you can see the Spanish flu, which I'll share a bit more later on. That is at the beginning of the century. That killed about 50 million people. Okay. Can we move on to the next slide, please?
Yeah. So it seems like I riwayat that this virus or pandemic is not new, because it has been there for like I mean, from those days it's already happening, right?
Yeah.
But the issue is how our society is reacting to it, right?
Okay. Since you see on this slide, on this on this particular slide, if you see the recent examples or recent epidemic or pandemic that we experienced, is you look at swine flu. Swine flu, 2009, 2010 is about 200K people dead, and then after that Ebola to 2014 and 2016, and the MERS and the SARS, but then the casualty, the number of casualty was quite low, so it wasn't a real issue. But if you look at COVID-19, it's a different animal. It's still ongoing. You can see how big the issue is today. And when we live during this lifetime of, from the 2009 or 2002, 2002 and all that, you can see that it's not a major issue, but when it comes to COVID-19, it becomes a major issue. So not much learning that we have from this pandemic. Yeah. So you can see.
Anyway,
yeah,
I was made to understood that you experienced this. If I'm not mistaken, the bird flu when you were in China, right?
Yeah, that was SARS. I was in China in 2003. I went through that, but it wasn't as bad. If you can see here on this slide, even on this slide, SARS just killed about, during that timing, 2002, 2003. I had that. I had a fever. I didn't know whether it was SARS or not, but I had a bad fever. I went to the hospital, and when I was staying in China for a few years. Yeah, and this you can see the number of casualties about 770. It's not even 1,000. So not much learning from there. We know there was a problem, but it's not much learning.
But
okay?
Is it the same in terms of the act from the government? You are
no,
asked to stay at home.
There's no lockdown. Yeah, there's some people who wear masks, who wore masks, but it's not the same magnitude. It's
I see.
It's different. It's different.
All right. Okay.
Moving on. So when we talk about lockdown, okay, let's talk about the lockdown a bit. The whether you call it MCO, EMCO, CMCO, same O, yeah, all these are red tape. Yeah? There's a lot of rules, regulation, guidelines that has been put forth by the government, and it's a red tape, it's a bureaucracy, because it is, like I mentioned, it's excessive regulations, require additional manpower to manage, and it is complex. Yeah. But let's take a look at the lockdown, whether this is good or this is bad. Let's take a look at it in next few slides. Can we move on? Okay, lockdown actually is not new. It's not new, and the lockdown today is actually templated against the Florence lockdown, which happened in the 17th century. And you can see when there is no vaccine or no drugs or therapeutic drugs that's available to fight or to against this COVID-19, then the next best thing to do is confinement or quarantine. If you look at it from the problem-solving standpoint, if you cannot find, you cannot reach to a permanent solution or a permanent solution, then what you do is containment. So confinement, quarantine is basically confinement. Confinement is basically containment, and until and we find the vaccine for it, then this is going to be the way that we move forward. So basically the lockdown is not to kill the virus. Some of us may be mistaken that by having this lockdown the virus will be killed. No, the virus will always be there. The reason why the lockdown is done is because we want to reduce the infection. We want to flatten the curve so that it can be to the manageable level. The hospital can cope with it, so stuff like that. But if you allow that to continue to happen, then the rate of infection is going to be much higher. So if you but is it a very easy decision for the government to come up to this lockdown? Obviously not. Maybe we can move to the next slide. Okay, because there has to be a balance. I don't think balance is the right word. One got to compromise the other. This dichotomy of COVID-19, basically the government has to decide whether do I forgo or compromise the economic health for a certain period of time, or do I compromise the life of the citizens. So it's a very hard decision.
Very difficult decision, yeah.
It's difficult decision. So I think balancing is not really the right word, but the thing is that you cannot really find the right balance. You do one, you kill the other. So that will still go on. Like many other things, if you can move on the next slide. Like many other things, if you take a look at the lockdown, the red tape of the locking down, it has its own share of issues, and there are supporters. There are also people who criticize. This one, I got this clipping from Jakarta Post and also Straits Times. For Jakarta Post, is like the president said that he or Indonesia has to defend red tape because otherwise, the country is going to be in chaos, because of this COVID-19 pandemic. And in Malaysia, there was critics saying that we don't want lockdown. Is there alternative? Of course, there's alternative. But do we want to experiment that alternative? What is that? What is the alternative? Basically, the alternative is basically you can allow. You don't have lockdown. You allow people to be infected, and then those who get infected, you treat them. But can you afford that if the infection rate goes exponentially? So that's why the lockdown. I think that's the right decision for now. It cannot be a prolonged lockdown because that is going to kill it. It's killing the economy already, but it's going to kill even more. Okay, can we move to the next slide? So implement this is something new, even though it happened before, but that was in 17th century, or rather, probably 17th or 18th century. You and I, we were not probably probably me. I don't know whether you were alive in the 17th century, but it wasn't me. So nothing much could be learned. There's still people, yeah. People are still confused. You look at the picture on the right. What does social distancing mean to them? They are taking care more of their slippers and shoes and sandals than taking care of themselves. So people are still confused. They don't understand what needs to be done. People need to be educated. And Bloomberg reported that if South Africa were to go into lockdown, the lockdown itself will kill the nation than the virus. So he's saying that the red tape is killing you more than the virus. Okay.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. Okay. Again, more of hardship. This is India saying that the lockdown will spell disaster for the struggling economy, even like us, yeah. And in Jakarta, the residents face all this hardship during the lockdown, yeah, because Indonesia capital Jakarta has imposed tough restriction on social activities to curb all the spread of COVID-19. So the urban poor are badly hurt. Yeah. So I think in Malaysia we are facing the same thing, except that the government has come up with a few measures to relieve some of us. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is a video. This video actually is in the US, talking about the confusion, still the confusion, where the even the authority themselves they are confused because this is a new thing. It hasn't really gelled up and solidified so that people can put their hands on it and they can run with it. But this is the same thing that's happening in Malaysia. I'll share a bit later on, but I'll show you this video about this family trying to complete the house, and there was a confusion what is essential, what is not essential, and there was a stop order, stuff like that. And if we can watch this video, then maybe I can explain a bit more later on.
Okay. Is the video on? Okay.
Let's talk about a dream home renovation that's turned into a nightmare for one Long Island family. It's almost finished, but pandemic red tape is keeping them out. Town officials won't hook up their sewage because it's deemed not essential. News 4's Paisy Chang is in Port Washington. Paisy, with the alternative, they could be putting their safety at risk.
Everything's furnished, everything's all there. I even have some toys here.
A tour of Juliet Sun Park's home today is a far cry from what it looked like when she started to rebuild her Port Washington home. But she and her family can't move in because the town of North Hempstead won't let them finish the final part of their renovation.
Because it's for the sewage line that connects our home to the main sewage line, we have to dig and replace the pipes that are currently existing, and we have to upgrade it.
And that is what the town of North Hempstead will not allow. The parks are caught in red tape created by the pandemic and the shutdown.
This is the most drastic action we can take.
According to Governor Cuomo's executive order, wastewater is considered essential infrastructure, so related work like sewers can continue. Juliet says she has seen other sewage work being done around town. When she asked the town of North Hempstead why that was allowed, she was told that because her and her family don't yet live in this house, that work isn't considered essential.
But it's the decision of the town to not approve additional projects or additional anything and not allow people to continue work, in essence, unless it fits their bill of what's essential.
A spokesman for the town says they need to consider the health of their employees and residents, and that the home does not have inspections for safety, carbon monoxide, smoke detection, or even confirming the home was built to plan. There is no certificate of completion to occupy. Therefore, given the pandemic, a sewer connection is not essential at this time. Juliet says she can't get those inspections until the sewer line is connected. Meanwhile, her family is living in a relative's house. 12 people altogether, one of them a doctor treating COVID patients in the hospital, bringing possible virus exposure back home every day.
For us to be safe as a family and to keep others safe, like my in-laws, it's best for us to move in here.
In Port Washington, Paisley Chang, News 4 New York.
Okay.
Malaysia is everywhere. So yeah, next slide, please. Can we see the next slide? Hello. Okay. Yeah. Let's come back to Malaysia. So
Okay.
this was predicted by JP Morgan. This during when we started the lockdown and first started the lockdown, the first phase of MCO, and JP Morgan said that the worst is yet to come. They predicted that Malaysia will peak on the infection rate of COVID-19 by mid-April, about 7,000. You can see the chart there is more like a distribution curve, but what that is saying is it will rise exponentially before it's going to come down. So that was predicted by JP Morgan. On the next slide, okay, this was by MyCURE. So MyCURE also predicted that Malaysia is going to have high trajectory of COVID-19 infection rate. But you can see when Malaysia started the lockdown, we started on the 18th of March. Excuse me, I think it was 18th of March. We started
18th of March.
18th of March, right? Okay, we started in 18th of March. We can see the curve has plateaued down, and you can see on the next slide that okay, lockdown or this bureaucracy or this red tape or this regulation or the guidelines or whatever you want to call it, it works for us. Of course, at the expense of the economy, but it works. Lockdown works. You can see on the graph, even though on the second phase of MCO, the infection rate started still climbing, but when we went into the third phase of MCO, it has decrease, and the fourth phase decrease, and alhamdulillah, up to, I have the latest figure actually, up to 11th of May, and we are still okay, even though with this the conditional MCO. So good job to the government, the Ministry of Health and MKN. We are not out of we are not out of the wood yet, but we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully the light is not the train coming towards you in the tunnel, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's good. And this success, if you can go to the next slide. The next slide is actually the video. If we can play the video, this video is the success of Malaysia that was noticed. I think many of you have seen this, but just show it over here for a simple discussion.
Tuan Riwayat,
yeah.
Before we move to Malaysia, we have a question from our participant that maybe I think this is the best time to ask.
Right.
Okay, from the explanation just now, are you saying that the lockdown is a red tape?
It is.
Are you saying that the lockdown itself is a red tape?
The lockdown is a red tape. Why that can be considered red tape? Because I mentioned earlier, there are excessive rules, regulation, guidelines. There are things that you cannot do. There are additional things that in order for you to move out, you need to get the what do you call the?
There are additional steps that required. Is it?
Correct. That's correct. So that's red tape.
But the question that been asked is that don't you think that is an action to solve the problems, and it is required?
Yeah, it's just like any other red tape. You don't put the red tape there just for the sake of having it there. You put the red tape there, you put the bureaucracy there, so that it can help you with whatever things that you want to control. It's basically try to control things. When you want to control things, you put measures. When you put measures, that becomes red tape, becomes burden to the people, and the whole work goes on. Yeah. So if you keep on adding stuff, is the red tape is becoming worse and worse.
So basically, you are saying that this type of red tape and bureaucracy is good to solve the COVID-19 issue. Is that so?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
What you're saying is the lockdown is working. So that means that red tape, by instituting additional measures for controlling the population, the crowd, if they want to move interstate or interlocate, they cannot move even more than 10 miles or 10 kilometers. So that is bureaucracy. Those are the things that that's burdening the people. But is that helping? Yes, it is helping. You have seen the graph just now. It helps. Yeah, the people, we make it difficult for people to move, and they must move they cannot move freely. But if they need to move due to emergency reason, or they have to work, or essential, and those are the kind of things that they can do. But again, there must be approval to get those things done. So that is, yeah. Okay, can we share?
Yeah, you might. Okay.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
This is a story about a country in Southeast Asia that often doesn't get much attention. Malaysia. In March, Malaysia was failing. Newspapers published articles about how Malaysia was struggling against COVID-19. Malaysia had 3 times more cases than any country in Southeast Asia. The virus was in every state and federal territory. What makes the story even more sad is how the infection spread, not from Malaysians partying or being badly behaved. It spread from a religious gathering. Malaysians, being well-behaved citizens, had unknowingly spread COVID-19. But here is where the story gets interesting. Malaysia's government quickly made adjustments. Movement Control Order, or MCO, roadblocks, closed events, closed schools, closed non-essential businesses. Malaysia would do MCO 2.0, or the Enhanced Movement Control Order. For anywhere where there were several cases, all businesses were closed. Roads all blocked. No one in or out. No one could leave their homes. But don't worry, food and medical care were provided. And Malaysia's case numbers? They started to drop. On April 14th, the Philippines passed Malaysia in COVID-19 cases. The next day, Indonesia. 2 days later, Singapore. Singapore is a much smaller country with a population 5 times smaller. Singapore now has 15 times the case rate of Malaysia. Malaysia is an example that we can all overcome this. How a country that had so many cases did the right stuff to stop the spread, and almost no media is talking about it. Even myself, I am guilty of this. I made a video of the top 15 countries fighting COVID-19, and Malaysia wasn't included. But luckily, one of my Malaysian followers pointed out Malaysia's story. Malaysia's COVID-19 numbers are good, but when you realize at one point they were 3 times worse than any country in Southeast Asia, and now they're one of the best, it's an incredible story that needs to be told. So I ask you to help me let the world know Malaysia's story.
Wow, we
Okay,
are
Shukri,
proud to hear that.
don't cry, Shukri.
Yeah. We feel touched. Yeah.
Yeah,
Malaysia
it's a good recognition. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. So the question is now, okay, lockdown works. So when do we lift lockdown? So if you can see in the next slide, in my slide here, you see here if you lift up too early, you ease the COVID-19 lockdown too early or prematurely, you're going to be doomed again. Okay, you look at St. Louis. I think the previous slide that was San Francisco. Can we go to the previous slide quickly? I'm just going to go this through quickly. I think I'm behind time. Okay, San Francisco. You look at the San Francisco. So what happened after the social distancing or the lockdown has been lifted? The number rose up again, and the second peak was worse. And you look at New York. New York is a better story. The social distancing was a bit longer. Then there is a better story to tell, yeah, for New York. Next slide, please. St. Louis. Take a look at St. Louis. What happened after the first lockdown? They lifted. It just went up immediately, yeah, and then it was even worse. And then before it comes down again,
even worse,
even worse. Then after that, it becomes low again. Pittsburgh, yeah, okay, there's a story there. So I'm not going to go into that. Let's move on to the next slide, please. Okay. So when do we lift down, or rather lift the lockdown? If you lift it prematurely, you can read over here. I'm not going to go through one by one. So Ghana records 60% increase in cases after lifting lockdown. Then Japanese island hit by second coronavirus wave after lockdown lifted too early. This was in 30th April. Then Germany, the same story. Then the whole Europe struggles, talking about Germany again. Next slide, please. This one is just quickly go through it, just to give you the flavor of what's happening around the world. And then this one, something wrong with the slide. I couldn't read it. This must be South Africa, yeah? 10% per day increase, yeah?
Yeah.
The whole works. China, you name it, yeah? If you live, even if you're talking about China today, China is talking about going to do the COVID-19 screening and testing for their 11 million population in Wuhan. That's after, you know, I thought it's already fine and dandy, but it's coming back. Okay, next slide, please. But okay, let's talk about the good part also. Yeah, to some people, if you are in the what do you call the e-commerce, sending for delivery and all that, you benefit from this. People cannot go out.
The demand will get higher as we
that's right. Let's move on. So now we are in the CMCO. Again, during the CMCO, the rules change. There are minor changes here and there. You know, we are freer to move, but people are still confused. Even though there's SOP, I choose this one. Next slide, please, because we want to again just reviving the economy. Talking about peruncitan, okay? I just want to relay one story here. This story is quite dear to me. What happened was this lady in the bakery business, not really bakery, it's bakery ingredient business. So she was confused whether she's in the essential retail or service or whatever. So this she didn't know where it falls into, yeah. So she continues to open the shop. After consulting with the police said okay, but the local council, when they came, they threatened to sue and threatened to close the shop and stuff like that. And finally, she went to get the MITI approval, and but we still don't know. We're still confused whether this service is essential or not. but it fits the essential criteria. But however, you know, there's still confusion. I just want to share the confusion. Okay, and moving on to the next one. Now that we are in CMCO, even the construction site, people are still confused. I'll share more about India. I have a video on India afterward. That one is exiting the lockdown. It's not even CMCO, it's exiting the lockdown. How confused can people be? I'll show the video afterward. But in Malaysia,
Okay.
you know, somewhere that's clear, is dear to our heart, people are still confused and fail to follow the SOP. The SOP is there. I don't think that they cannot read it. They can. However, to follow the SOP can be quite difficult. Some of them can be quite easy, just like, you know, wearing mask. That's easy. Sanitizing your hand is easy. Social distancing can be quite easy. However, when it comes to, you know, every employee of the company needs to go through screening before they start work and all that. Those are the kind of things that is bothering them. But I don't blame the government. You look at the latest cluster on the construction cluster. So how do we get rid of all this? If not following all the SOP, again, it's red tape. But that's good for some, it's bad for some. This red tape or bureaucracy can be a poison to someone, but a meat to somebody else. So, you know, it depends on which side you are. Okay, next slide, please. So now let's talk about exiting lockdown. Everything is fine and dandy. We can exit the lockdown. So how do we do it? Because even exiting the lockdown, there's a fair share of issues as well. There are glitches everywhere when it comes. So this Malaysia has not reached to this level yet. We are still in CMCO. I don't know where to put it. It's not exiting the lockdown. We still have the lockdown, but is easing the lockdown. So move to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay. So exiting the lockdown. People in China, they still have issues, even though they can exit the lockdown. They still have issues. They still trapped by the prejudice and the red tape prejudice, because, you know, these people, they have issues with the COVID-19 epidemic at their areas and stuff like that, and the red tape. They need to go to places, but they are not allowed to because of they are refused permission to travel, cannot get documents or whatever, you know. So these are the issues that people still face. Next slide, please. A bit more interesting. This one is in India. I have this excerpt, this cutting from the Indian Express. So what this guy is saying is what is more important is for the government or the bureaucrats to write a very clear, simple. Because I picked this is because it's very typical. This is the same in Malaysia. It's the same everywhere else in the world, I presume. So that we can take a look at this. It's not happening only in Malaysia, or it happens you know, anywhere in the world as well. So this guy is saying, why don't our bureaucrats write clear, simple rules which people can understand? Yeah. Why some rules meant to deter rather than to incentivize, to give incentive to people rather than to penalize them and deter them to do things. So this one, another one. Why does the government come up with homeopathic doses? That means slow, but surely it can be okay. It's permanent cure rather than allopathic one. Yeah. So the solution to him is, which I agree fully. Over communicate, be transparent, implement what has been laid out by the people of authority. Yeah. Okay. So next slide, please.
Yeah, but Tuan Royat, when we talk about policy or write up from the government to let the society understand, it's not that easy, you see. Even like the recent one, when we were allowed to gather 20 of us in one house, even that create confusion, you see. some people count the kids, some not. So that's why I can't imagine how the exit of the lockdown would be executed in our country.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's still a lot of things are not gelled up. People are still in confusing state. Whether a lockdown or exit the lockdown or CMCO, EMCO, MCO, whatever that is. So when there's confusion like this, people tend to get jittery. Yeah? So it's a burden to the people. Okay, this one,
Yeah,
the video.
before we start the video, I just have one question that's very related to this the topic that we're discussing now, or the slide that we're discussing now. Do you agree that most of the procedures or the red tape that have been established to do the lockdown can be improvised by having a simpler procedures and using technology or digital? Do you agree to that?
Definitely. Any this like I said, this is a new thing. It happened before, but not in our lifetime. So it's a new thing to us, and definitely we can learn from the previous experience, probably in writings and stuff like that. But we didn't experience it. And whatever the government is doing now, whatever the people in the authority is doing, the bureaucrats and all that, they are as confused as we are. Except that there's one thing in common that they have with us. They want to make sure that the COVID-19 infection rate to flatten. But how to do that? What other things need to be done? Yeah, social distancing. What do we do? Is 1 meter good enough? In the US, it's 2 meters.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line? So do we give umbrella of 1 meter in radius to everyone so that they can go to the shop and have that umbrella on top of them so that they can separate themselves from the person next to them? Well, I mean, there's so many things that can be done. And you mentioned about the online. Probably you can do online stuff and all that. The online itself can be a problem. I related to you a story just now about getting from MITI. You know, MITI. This one is not. This happened. I'm not saying that it is not a blame to anyone. It's a new thing. People cannot predict this. But MITI website was down because too much traffic applying for the approval from them for them so that they can operate. So having an online thing also can cause you problem. But of course they have taken action quickly after that. But you know, things like this is a new thing to us. You want to call it unprecedented? Yeah, okay, we can call it, even though it has happened before, but not in our lifetime. Okay, so this video, this video, this is to me it's a good video talking about the confusion. This is again typical. This is happening in Malaysia as well. So, but this one is in India to exit the lockdown. So, if we can play this video for us to watch, and this it shows there 26 minutes. Don't worry, it's not 26 minutes. Yeah, I've cropped the video. It becomes so don't worry about it. So, can we play the video, please, Izzat?
Yeah.
You're watching Reality Check. Today, millions of businesses across India were hoping to open shop under the new relaxed guidelines of Lockdown 3.0. But on the ground, business owners struggle to negotiate a maze of delayed or confusing guidelines, some of them so stringent that it would be a challenge to implement them. Take the case of Noida, the major urban industrial hub just east of Delhi, of where we are. We went there to find that even till late afternoon, the website, which was meant to be where businesses could register to open, hadn't gone online yet. Finally, the District Magistrate of Noida tweeted out a link to that website only at about 4 in the afternoon. This even though the Home Ministry had framed the broad guidelines for how businesses should open 3 days ago. Now, what are the guidelines that have been framed in Noida as an example of the kind of rules that small businesses particularly will have to follow across the country? A total, we found through a cursory glance, of about 30 guidelines in all. Now, some of them are fairly obvious, like screening workers and sanitizing workplaces, but there are also challenging ones, like the random COVID testing of at least 5% of employees of firms which have 50 or more businesses. If any worker found symptomatic, the government needs to be informed. If more than 50 workers are coming from red or orange zones, the business needs to organize transport. The workers' transport, though, should only be to 50% of the capacity. A minimum distance of 6%, 6 feet, between workers at the workplace, a challenge for many small businesses that operate from cramped quarters. 100% of the staff are meant to install the Arogya Setu app. And in perhaps one of the most challenging conditions, businesses need to identify quarantine facilities to isolate their workers if any of them are showing symptoms. The failure to do any of this could mean that they face action against the law.
I just would like to touch a bit on the video. I like the caption that was used on the video saying that red carpet versus red tape. So what do people expect?
Red carpet or red tape.
Red carpet, right? Yeah. I mean, you just go there and red carpet is laid in front of you, and what you need to do is just do your business as usual. You know,
lockdown is over. Please welcome me using red carpet. So that is expectations.
That's what people expect. So it's a good video. Okay, let's move on to the next slide, please. I think we move away from the lockdown, the exit of the lockdown and stuff like that. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, now the bad and the ugly side of red tape as a whole for the pandemic. Move to the next slide, please. So this is in Philippines. Worst time for red tape. UK coronavirus prisoner release plan stalled because of the red tape issue. This is a blunder that was admitted. This was written in Bloomberg. I don't make up the story, but the prisoner were to be released, but they were what do you call, stalled by the red tape. During this coronavirus. Move to the next slide, please. I will move on. I have like 10 more minutes to finish another 200 slides. Okay, so there are issues again.
We have many questions for you, Tuan Riwayat. So maybe you can.
I'll speed up. I hope I can answer some questions. Right. Please pick the question that's not so difficult to answer.
Yeah, of course. Okay. We have already agreed during fasting month, less questions.
Okay, so the next one, the red tape. This is in South Africa. Is hampering the distribution of the food in South Africa. Next slide, please. I just want to quickly go through this. I'm not going to read line by line. This is in China. The shipment was held up because of the red tape. No, this is 3 days. I think it was held up for 3 days. During tough time like this, I wrote here, every microsecond counts. Yeah, every split second is very precious, but 3 days. So there's a lot of, there was a question previously whether a red tape can kill more than bullet. Now, this is the case where red tape can kill more than bullet. Okay, next slide, please. This is closer to home, Malaysia. COVID-19, some lament that cash is hampered by red tape. The slide on the left. And on the right is the COVID-19 spread is because of the red tape. This in Orange County, LA. Slide. Next slide, please.
Okay, move to the next slide.
Yeah, okay. This again, India. On the left, excuse me, pardon me, India. This is Bangladesh. Red tape takes 21 days to release relief. PPE. This is not only in Bangladesh or Malaysia or South Africa. In UK, these PPE makers are frustrated. Yeah. Next slide, please. I just want to give you the flavor. Indonesia, of course, red tape prevents laid-off citizens or the rakyat of the Indonesia from getting promised aid. Now I move a bit on the economy. Output decline across on the right, across all sectors except for service. But service, we talk about tourism, tourism is dead. Yeah, it's service, but not only in manufacturing or stuff, food industry, but even in services. Okay, next slide, please. These are the bad and ugly. Yeah, this is ugly. Mass jobless rate in Malaysia spiked from 520,000 to 610,000. And on the right, the Minister Topa mentioned that number of jobless to triple. It can be up to 1.8 million. Isn't that scary? It is very scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very scary.
That's ugly. Next, please. Okay. This is Singapore. This is Prime Minister Lee. He said that jobs will disappear as coronavirus speed up digital disruption. Well, good and bad. Yeah. But our people, this is Singapore, but in Malaysia, are we ready for it? I'm not saying that we are lesser than Singapore, but the thing is that even Singapore, I don't think they're very ready for that. That's why the bottom one say coronavirus, more than 1 in 5 Singapore firms. That means more than 20% of Singapore firms looking for slash jobs. So that's bad news. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay. Again, the ugly part. This is from IMF. I think you can if you are interested to read in detail, you can get the handout and you can go into detail. I have 5 more minutes, but this is all saying bad story. Yeah, it's bad storyline for Malaysia and the whole world. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay. Again, this is the ugly side: output losses, global crisis. Next slide, please. This IMF. Yeah. Okay, I just want to share with you in the next few minutes what are the initiatives that has been or will be instituted, has been and will be instituted by the government around the world to cut the red tape, especially to counter this pandemic. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is in the US. This is saying that the war on coronavirus is also a war on paperwork, which is good news. Yeah, well, good and bad. We don't know. Yeah, sometimes all the slogan and all that, is put on the wall, but it stays on the wall. It doesn't get to the ground. Yeah, but hoping this kind of thing is gonna take what do you call? It is gonna move. Next slide, please. This one is again talking about the same thing. Yeah, to cut the red tape because of this COVID-19. Hoping we are hoping all this can, especially the one to get the vaccine. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. This one is on the tourism industry. Russia seeks to revive. Not to revive coronavirus, but revive coronavirus hit tourism industry, yeah, by cutting the visa and visa red tape. So this is good news. If you are planning to go to Russia tomorrow, you're okay. Next, please.
Yeah, but we can't.
You can, yeah, okay. So this is another video about New Zealand. I have 2 more videos. One is this one, the New Zealand one, talking about the cutting the red tape going forward. So can we play this video, please?
This fast lane could soon be on the fast track. Wellington's Island Bay Cycleway, one of thousands of projects bidding for the COVID-19 infrastructure money pot. And it's just been made easier to get.
We could be chopping off a year from those consenting timeframes. Normally, everyone has a right of public participation and everyone has a right of appeal to the Environment Court to relitigate the facts.
A law change will see parts of the Resource Management Act bypassed for eligible projects. That might include roading, cycling and rail projects, sediment removal, wetland construction and flood management. But there are fears shortcuts might be taken.
The risk is that the truncated form of resource consent might result in projects being advanced that haven't been properly thought through.
Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures, and the purpose of this is to foster employment.
A nationwide snapshot of shovel-ready projects reveals Rotorua Lake submitted 7 projects worth $210 million. Whanganui District bid for $260 million, Queenstown a $68 million contribution, and on the West Coast, Buller wants $25 million.
The number of jobs we can create and we know we can deliver, I think it's an absolute no-brainer to
Okay, we can stop the video. Can we go to
the
the
list
next
has
one,
now
please?
been culled.
This is the same story. Okay, next slide. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, yeah, play this video. Thanks. I don't hear.
I think we can't hear. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was the voice of the video. Okay, but okay, I think we can stop the video. This video is basically that video was actually talking about you know, how the China government was trying to cut the red tape in order to expedite the release of the vaccine, yeah, or not release, to do the research of the vaccine. Okay, next slide. I have 2 more slides. This one is cutting red tape, basically in Europe. This one is in Spain, and the next one is on in Turkey, to expedite the public tender for the emergency measures. Next slide, please. Okay, so this one, is Malaysia doing anything about the red tape? This one was I clipped this newspaper before we had the change in the government. This one was mentioned by what do you call ex-minister Daryl Liking about the cutting the red tape to streamline the investment process. And on the right we have Tokpa. What are the plans that they have? He didn't mention, or even Prime Minister Muhyiddin, Tan Sri Muhyiddin didn't mention anything about cutting the red tape, because the focus right now, which is rightly so, is on fighting the COVID-19. But I'm very sure that Malaysian government will also focusing on the cutting the red tape. The ex-Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir mentioned about this. Ex-Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib also mentioned about this, the red tape issues and stuff like that. I'm sure Tan Sri Muhyiddin will be focusing in this as well. So this is something about Malaysia. So in conclusion, the next slide. I'll end in a few 1-2 minutes. So
can you switch on your webcam? I can't see you.
Oh, you can't see me again. Okay.
Yeah. You keep on disappearing. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't be hiding from you. Okay, I know that you miss me a lot, but okay. So in summary, this
on the topic, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's focus back on the slide.
The slide, yeah. Okay, okay, so that you don't miss me, yeah. All right. In summary, red tape can of course do justice, and definitely government is caught between the economic health and public health. So dichotomy there is, you know, they are caught in that. Not paying attention to complex rules and regulation can result in hardship and chaos. This is what you mentioned earlier. Can this be done better? So of course this can be done better. Of course, we can see the red tape during pandemic, the bad and ugly side of it. People are not well informed, the confusion, many instances of amplified sufferings. There's already suffering by the people, but it gets amplified by the red tape and all that. Is the worst yet to come? We don't know. but we could see that many initiatives that has been planned and also instituted to ease the red tape burden. Okay. Next slide, please. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, IR Riwayat. I think it's quite very informative information that you have shared with us. All right. So from pandemic and then what is epidemic, and at the same time you have also shared with us the balance between economy and also the enforcement of the under lockdown. And we also have an issue where recently there are many red tapes procedures have been put in place, in order to execute a lockdown. And it is a big challenge for us to overcome back all these procedures when things goes back to normal. All right. So we have a question here from the participant, from the attendees. Okay, the first question here. Not the first question. I think this is the third one. I already asked two just now. Where do we draw the line between red tapes and human life fatality?
So draw the line between the red tape and
human life fatality.
Where do we draw the line between the red tape and human life fatality? I think what the participant was trying to ask is, you have the red tape, and the red tape there is to prevent the human life or the fatality or the mortality and stuff like that. So where do you draw the line? I mean, if you look at one of the slides that I showed earlier, if you implement or you institute the red tape to the detriment of the whole population and make it worse than the virus itself, I think that is very wrong. You need to implement just right. You even though you cannot experiment, you need to go for an overkill. There's no fine line that, okay, this is the line. You need to go for an overkill. But after that overkill, then you move backward. This is what like Malaysia is doing. First, they go to MCO, and then EMCO, they enhance MCO. Then after that, they relax a bit. So go for the overkill first. Then we move backward. So that's how, if I were to do it, I'll do the same. Go for the overkill and go backward, so that the human life is not compromised.
Okay. Another question, IR. I think that this might be the last question, because of the time constraint. Do you think we are ready, Malaysians are ready to overcome or to face the new red tape procedures together with the current procedures that we already have after the MCO?
You mean the red tape to put more red tape in the with the
even the question is that even currently we have many red tape procedures already there in the regulations, and say it's after the exiting of the lockdown and people goes back to normal life, these red tape procedures that have been created will be continued. You see, so do you think we are ready to combine or to merge these two, the red tape already there and the new one that we have created, into a better procedures in future? What do you think the challenges that we're gonna face?
Okay, I understand the question. Well, the population is actually it's just like the what do you call, the bell-shaped curve. Okay, there are people on the extreme right, there are people on the extreme left. There are a lot of people in between. The people in between, I don't think we have to worry too much about them. People on the far right, where is a blatant disregard to the law, blatant disregard to SOPs. They just want that these people are loose cannons, and these are the people that will always not be ready for anything. The people on the left, they're too cautious. People say that, okay, you can go to the mosque now. I said, no, I don't want to be next to a person that has this virus that I don't know about. They're people that's they're skeptics and stuff like that. So if you ask me whether we are ready or not ready with this thing and all that, there will always be people in the broad spectrum. There are people that's very ready. There are people that's ready to go out now and go into the COVID-19 infected area, and they say that okay, it's not going to kill me. There are people, so it's based on, it's more of the education. And the other thing is that, like the Prime Minister has been always saying, we have to adjust to the new norm. What's the new norm? These are the things that that has been put as red tape. But going forward, you don't trust no one. When you go out, you don't know the person next to you in the supermarket is having the flu or not having the flu, or so you got to be cautious. You got to practice the new norm. So you got to be ready. It comes with education. This culture is not going to be there, overnight. It's going to take some time, like any other changes. To face the changes, just like managing change. I'm sure you know about the managing change and all that. There are people that will be very against the changes. There are people that will adopt to it. There are people that they are too scared and they will do anything. So that's always been the case. Yeah.
All right. Tuan Riwayat, thank you very much for the answer. There are many more questions coming up. Most of it is asking about how they're gonna deal with these red tapes after the MCO, and then some of them ask about how does this red tape give a threat to the jobs itself. Yeah, because when there are too many red tapes, they are worried that they're gonna lose their jobs. You see, so
I'm not allowed to answer any question.
Yeah, we will email to you the question, or maybe you can answer them directly after this. All right, so thank you very much, Riwayat. Yeah,
thank you. You've been a very
informative
person. Yeah, thanks.
All right. So for the participants, if you want to get the slide, you can download it from the panel, and that will be the end of this seminar. And for next session, we're gonna have the topic of how to make operation flow in the MyCURE program. Yeah, we'll go back to the syllabus of MyCURE. I'm gonna share with you on how to make the operation flow. Yeah, I'll be the presenter for the next one, moderated by Architect Adriata. So the session will be held next week, Monday, from 11:15 to 12. All right. So we'll send the link to the attendees for you to register. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Riwayat, and thanks to all attendees for spending your time today. So selamat berbuka, selamat beribadah. We meet again in the next sessions. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. I just want to say thank you to Izzat for controlling the slide and also the videos. Yeah, we got stuck. Okay, thank you, Izzat.
Okay.